Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Shirtless Plantain Show. This is the Manchester United edition. Today, I have a very special guest. I don't really say this too often, but this is a Ghanaian person I like.
Okay.
That's how we're going to start off today.
All right, then.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the wonderful Carl Anka. Thank you so much, Carl, for making time.
Thanks for having me. It's been a while. It's been a minute since we talked football.
It's been a while since we talked in general in person. So, occasionally we'll talk on the timeline, but I feel like we haven't really had a good conversation, in a minute. So
I know it's that thing of, I'll see you in the summer, and then summer's gone already.
Yeah. I mean, it's football, right? Like this is the life that we chose to do, is to work in the sport that doesn't end. Like, what is it now? We're in the middle of Euro starting on Friday, Copa America next week, Wimbledon, Olympics.
So I'm talking to you when we finish wrapping this podcast. I'm gonna go and make dinner, and then I will immediately pack everything that I can pack for when I fly out to Germany on Thursday. So I'm white knuckle, whatnot. Manchester United, if you are going to make a big decision, if you could do it in the next 15 hours rather than the next 50, that'd do me a massive favor. Just a massive favor.
And that is a wonderful way to start that, because, again, we took our time with the United season review because Ineos decided to take their time, and, we follow our leaders. So
I mean, the review is still ongoing as far as I know.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, and I enjoy what Ineos are doing, because for me, it's hilarious to see how many United fans are so upset. We'll get into that, but I think because I work in football, you work in football, I think the pair of us have realized, like, there's always something going on, and we don't have time to stress about what's going on.
Genuinely, so many times I am going about my day, walking about Manchester, and I have a very nice, well-meaning Man United fan come up to me and go, "What's going on with X?" I'm like, "Nothing. Nothing's going on with X, mate. Just enjoy your coffee. Enjoy your coffee. This won't matter in 48 hours, so don't get worried about it now."
Yeah, I'm trying to tell my United friends, try to walk them off the ledge a lot of times. They just really love somebody. Listen, it's summertime in England and it's summertime in America. Please, like, go enjoy nature before football starts. Like,
this is it. Yeah. I've had so many United fans go, "Oh, if X happens, I'm not watching United next season." You're going, well, first of all, you probably will, and second of all, who has said X is going to happen? Because as far as I'm concerned, if Ornstein doesn't say it, it's not real. And Ornstein hasn't been saying too much about Man United in the last couple of weeks. So
Ornstein yesterday said he gives up. So if Ornstein is giving up, what does that say for you? You need to give up as well. So just let it be. The 2023 season, let's get into it. So preseason started. First game last year was July 12th against Leeds. Had a couple preseason games until August 6th. How do you feel about the preseason last year? Because I remember specifically there was a game against Arsenal. I didn't watch that because I was on my way to Philly, and that's when Sancho scored that goal. So how do you feel about preseason last year going into the season?
I was there for the very first preseason. So July 12th, I was in Oslo. I watched Man United play Leeds United in a game where the ticket prices were, quite frankly, taking advantage of how much money Norwegians earn. Come on, bit pricey considering how many players were actually available there. The big thing about that game was Mason Mount was there. And I remember very clearly in the first 20 minutes, Mount received the ball in a half turn and pinged the ball a diagonal out. And I went, ooh, haven't seen the Man United midfielder do that before in a while. Because there was a certain point watching Scott McTominay and Fred churn the ball over in midfield where you forgot players can receive on the half turn and play forward quite quickly. So that was nice. And United won that game. All the youngsters came on. Another big storyline going into that game was the fact that it was announced pretty much that week Harry Maguire would not be the club captain going forward. And I remember asking Ten Hag directly, how will the captaincy be decided after this? I said, are you going to put it to the dressing room for a vote, or are you going to decide a captain? And Ten Hag, in his very Ten Hag style, was, no, I decide the captain. That was...
He's the most Dutch man ever.
My girlfriend of 3 years now is Dutch, and I feel every time I get stuck with Ten Hag and how he wants to think, I ask my partner about the elder relatives in her life. Do you have an uncle that does this? Do you have a dad that does this? Do you have an old hockey coach that does this? And now I find myself giving Ten Hag more grace because I'm not going, well, that's just rude, but going, oh, okay, that's a very Dutch thing to do. One of the number one searched things on the BBC website is, why do Dutch people not apologize? And it's like it's a wonderful little short film and article about why Dutch people of a certain age just do not apologize that often, which I'm sure we'll get to it a bit later on. Might have caused some problems for United season later down the line. So
Yeah.
big thing for the preseason is, so I did the Oslo game, then I go off to the United States, and the big thing of those games is injuries that happened to Amad Diallo and Kobe.
Yeah.
Mania, which disrupted the first part of the season, according to Ten Hag. After the fact, one of the things about preseason was things seemed okay. Ten Hag kept using the word dynamic repeatedly. He said Mason Mount was very dynamic. The idea is to be a very dynamic team. There's also where he first started saying the intention is to make Manchester United the best transition team in the world, which was a very, very important quote that in the end just didn't happen. And I remember a week before the final game of the season, I asked Ten Hag, remember when you said you wanted to turn United into the best transition team in the world? Do you still want to do that? And then Ten Hag gave me an answer where I just went, I beg your pardon? But we'll get into that later.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then the season started off with win against Wolves with a Varane winner in the 76.
Let's pause there. Okay. Do you remember that game?
I wish I didn't, but yes.
Brother. So Wolves are an interesting team for Manchester United. So ever since Wolves got re-promoted back in 2018, I want to say, they have been a thorn in the side of multiple Man United managers. Mourinho couldn't get the better of them. Ollie took a while for Ollie to get the better of them, but around about 2021, the 2020 and 2021 season, United did a double over Wolves and go, we've done it. We're not scared of Wolves anymore. They're not annoying anymore. And there's always been that toing and froing of, I don't like watching Manchester United play Wolves because I've been burnt by so many of those games. There was a particular game in 2019 which not only did Wolves win, but I just hated it. Just hated watching it.
It's you know who they remind me of?
What?
Remind me of Blackburn back in the day with Pedersen and like how annoying like Pedersen would turn into like a mixture of Robin and Beckham. And I'm like,
yes,
why?
Now, Wolves have good pieces. They've got some good attacking pieces. But one big thing about them is they are stubborn and stout in central midfield. So if you're not paying attention and you're being slack, they will set traps for you in midfield, snatch it, and then they can punch you in the mouth. But things were really good going into the start of the season. Do you remember when it looked like Moses Caicedo was going to Liverpool at the last minute and then he went to Chelsea?
Yep.
I remember there were loads of United fans going, it's quite funny that other football clubs haven't sorted out their transfer business, but United have theirs sorted out for once. And then we all watched the Wolves game and went, what's going on? This isn't working. Why is Mason Mount so advanced? Why is Casemiro looking kind of slow? Why are all these gaps in midfield? Varane gets the header, you win, and you're going, okay, that's fine. That's just probably day one nerves. Little did we know.
That was going to be the catalyst for the rest of the season. Little did we know, like, that's what we'll be watching for, like, the next 8-9 months.
Uppercutting a man in the head, nearly giving away a penalty. It goes to VAR. It doesn't go to VAR. Doesn't give away a penalty. And then Gary O'Neill comes into the Old Trafford press room and goes, the assistant manager, the referee just told me it should have been a penalty. And you're going, okay, that's an interesting thing to do. And that Gary O'Neill's face when he said that is imprinted on my brain anytime I hear a United fan go, you need to write an article about the referees being biased against Man United. I'll go, do you remember the first week of the season? Because, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Gary O'Neill complaining was, I don't know.
Gary O'Neill likes to complain. I like him as a coach. He likes to complain. Gary O'Neill likes to complain, and he also likes it when you ask him a question about second half substitutions, because that gives him an opportunity to explain how he fixed things and how intelligent he is. He's a very good interview, and I think it's a very, very good tactical mind. But two things that tend to come up in his press conferences are he'll have a moan about something he didn't like, which is fair. Every Premier League manager has a moan. And if you give him a question about Wolves weren't playing well here, but then something changed. What was that? You can see him go, well, young man.
Yeah, I mean, the next game was Tottenham. I'm not even trying to go list by list, but I'm just giving you like highlights. Like the Tottenham game where we lost, that's when I was just like, okay, something is not right. Martinez scored an own goal and Sarr scored. I was just like, oh God, it's like, what's going to happen now?
Yep.
Yeah, that was not
so
fun.
interesting there. United were good for 45 minutes and then weren't. And the big thing there was one big reason why United were less effective in the second half is that Ange Postecoglou made his centre-back stand wider in build-up. And you're going, okay, interesting. And then the next game was Brighton. United play a 4-4-2 diamond. And then Brighton take 20 minutes to figure out United's pressing shape. So Brighton got a goal up. And you can look this up. I put this in the piece in The Athletic. When Brighton go a goal up, you can see Roberto De Zerbi with his hands going wider to Lewis Dunk. And then United get sussed out. Brighton win 3-1. And I wrote a piece after the 3-1 defeat saying Ten Hag is reaching an awkward plateau. I said, United they're not getting worse, but this happens to every United manager post-Ferguson, which is they have a little bit, then they improve the team, and then they all reach this plateau a little bit where things start evening out, and you're going, ooh, players aren't improving at the moment. And it's always been a question of how does the manager punch through that? And then it's the Arsenal game, isn't it?
No, you actually got it in wrong order. So it was, we beat Nottingham Forest 3-2. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I forgot that one.
Yeah, and then
that was spooky for a minute, wasn't it?
Very. Bruno's penalty saved us, as per. And then it was Eriksen, Casemiro, Bruno, and then it was Arsenal when Rashford scored, and then that game. Then it was Brighton, and then
the Arsenal game. Now the Arsenal game is burnt in my memory because Ten Hag. It's clearly burnt in Ten Hag's memory.
Oh, yeah, he said it like again and again.
Unprovoked. He will bring that up. Erik Ten Hag brings up Garnacho's offside goal against Arsenal at the Emirates more than any one incident from United season. Apparently, before the FA Cup final, Ten Hag and United played a video of Any Given Sunday, Al Pacino's speech. And when it got to the bit where Pacino said too early or too late, and you'll miss it, there was a video and it played Garnacho's goal. So this game in particular is one of the most pivotal matches of the season. Not necessarily because of the result, but because how much it burns within Ten Hag. Ten Hag believes that United should have won that game. He says if Garnacho's goal is onside, they win that. He also believes Højlund should have had a penalty. And also, very importantly, afterwards, Ten Hag said things about Jadon Sancho that led to Jadon Sancho's comments. And that's why Jadon Sancho is not currently looking likely to be a Manchester United player. So this is if Louis van Gaal has the Leicester City 5-3 game, Erik Ten Hag has Arsenal 3-1 at the Emirates. So this game is... I remember my head being shot at full time.
Yeah, I thought we won the game, and then next thing you know, it was offsides, and then Arsenal just didn't do what they do. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. I mean, obviously, there was Burnley, Palace, Brentford. Lost to City 3-0. Lost to Palace. We lost to Palace way too many times this season.
That Palace game was horrendous. This is a game that... this game doesn't get spoken about enough because it was a Saturday 3:00. But I think, for my money, that might have been one of the worst performances of the season. It was
that was when we lost 1-0.
Absolutely. United had nothing.
Yeah, and Joachim Anderson scored.
Wonderful football player, by the way. Joachim Anderson's dad is in charge of just retailing goods of Apple products in his homeland. So if you want to buy an Apple charger or whatnot, you have to do with the Andersons. And so Joachim Anderson and his dad have fantastic business minds. There's a great interview on GQ from Sam Diss, and I highly recommend you check that out.
Big shout out to Sam Diss, by the way. Great guy. Big shout out to Sam. Yeah. I'm trying to skip around here because there was so many different bad results you've had throughout the season.
I like the fact you just focus on the Premier League because there's a whole bunch of Champions League results we can talk about too. But
I was going through the Prem first. I mean, obviously, as we all know, those mad different losses. and my head is kettled right now because I had a structure for this, and I'm reading the results
And
again.
you're getting mad. You're getting mad.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
let's just lump this all up and just skip all the way to Christmas.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so the last game before Christmas, Manchester United lose 2-0 to West Ham.
Yes, away.
I'm at the London Stadium there. I have a dreadful flu building within me, and I don't know it yet. And this is coming out right around the time where it looks as if Ineos is going to be the new minority stakeholder in Manchester United. At Christmas time, it was confirmed that United weren't going to play Champions League football. They'd been knocked out entirely from Europe. They'd been knocked out the League Cup at this point in time. They were looking a little bit away from the top four. What were you feeling like as a United fan just before Christmas?
I'm going to tell you this, and this is going to answer your question. When I was with CBS, right, we have these moments in each year that we all bring everybody into the office, right? Because we all were remote. So we bring everybody into the office. So like everyone, like, you know, people in Chicago, people in Portland, like everybody comes to the office, in New York office, right? So we're watching Copenhagen.
Mm-hmm.
And as everyone knows, if you don't know this, I was born in London. I moved to America when I was 11. So my English accent is basically gone, but sometimes it comes back out. So I remember against Copenhagen, I'm trying to remember what exactly it was. The 3-4.
Oh my God.
This is November 8th, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were winning, and all of a sudden Copenhagen's, you know, did what they did. My accent flipped so fast to the point where everybody thought I was still in Plumstead. Like they still saw I was still in Plumstead. And they looked at me and said, Tosin, I've never heard you in the 3.5 years. Like, never heard you speak like this. I was like, I am that upset. That was my final straw of the season, was that 4-3 game. Wiped my hands off of it. And I was just like, if I'm that vexed that like my accent is flipping to that point, I was like, nope, that's it. So I think that was when I put a fork in the season. I was like, that's enough. So
the Copenhagen game, I was there. It was my first Champions League game, away game. It's my first away Champions League tie, covering it as a Manchester United journalist. Go out a day early, very, very excited for it. Spend some time even looking at the youth game as well. Stadium is right in the city centre. Danish football fans, fantastic, very personable. And United go 2-0 up. In terms of spectacle, it was fantastic. I remember Andy Mitten saying, "You got to be careful about this game. This game is not a done deal. Copenhagen are going to. Everyone gets a little 10-20% boost when Manchester United come to town."
Always.
And Andy Mitten warned us against this and said, "Just be careful. Don't assume United are going to beat Copenhagen away." And I was like, okay. And the spectacle, they put in like a real light show, and they got the tifos out before kickoff, and you go, "Oh, they're up for this." United go 2-0 up. Hoyland scores, and you're going, okay, this is done. Rashford red card for it's a similar red card to what Pogba got against PSG back in 2019. So that sort of tall player trying to step over the ball. Great. Now when United got their second goal, there's no press box separation in FC Copenhagen Stadium. So I'm just sat 2 rows in front of a football fan behind me. And I thought I was doing a covert fist pump when that goal goes in. I'm like, get in. And this Danish football fan behind me taps me on the shoulder, goes, "Oh, you're a United fan." And I went, "Yes, I'm sorry. I can't hide my support." He goes, "Okay." And he said, "I hope you enjoy the game." Now, at FC Copenhagen's ground, you can buy a very, very big box of popcorn for about €5. So the game begins to turn. And I'm going, what's going on? What's going on? When United eventually make it 3-2, I'm going, great. Phew. False alarm, but I'm good. Then it gets to 3-3. And then Rooney Bajwa, please forgive me if I got that surname incorrect. When it goes to 4-3, I visibly slump down into my shoulders, sat in my seat. And the same football fan taps me again on the shoulder and goes, "You seem very sad about this." And he just goes, "Would you like some popcorn?" And I still can't describe it in that was the most miserable I'd felt in quite some time. And I just had this very, very nice Danish person trying to do a random act of kindness to drag me out of this misery.
Yeah.
And I went, yes, thank you. And I took a handful of this popcorn. And then he explained to me Rooney's backstory, saying, well, one reason why he's called Rooney is because his dad, who emigrated to Denmark, was a massive Wayne Rooney fan back in the day. And you're going, Jesus Christ, you can't write this stuff. But that Champions League campaign was an absolute disaster.
Oh, it's a horror show.
Galatasaray away. There was a point at Galatasaray away where central midfield stopped being concept. It was just table tennis, just ping, 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 ping. And I remember just yelling at the TV, "Put your effing foot on the ball, slow it down a little bit." Which, if you're not a Manchester United fan, I'm sure there were loads of games where midfield just dissolved, and you went, "This is quite fun." But if you are a United fan, there were so many times you're going, "This is awful. I can't do this anymore."
It's funny you say that, because I watch United games with some non-United fans, and being in America, there's people who are slowly against the football. So I've watched games with people, and they look and said, you know what I mean? When it's like, damn, you live like this?
Yes. Yeah.
They look at me that way, and I'm just like, oh, this is nothing, and this is, we're not trying to go too far, but I was watching the 99 United doc, and I made a couple friends watch it, and they mentioned, it's like, you guys are really good. I was like, yeah. I was just like, there's a reason why people hate United, is because for a very long time in the 90s and 2000s, we dominated everybody in England. So it's just like, you make enemies out of everybody, and people are so happy to see our, they're literally dancing on our grave. I was like, and this is a story again, I've never shared this with anybody, but I feel like it's the perfect platform for me to tell everybody how I became a United fan. And this is a story of nobody knows the story except for my younger brother. He reminded me. Only reason I became a Man United fan is because of Andy Cole.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a Newcastle jersey. Nobody knows this.
Okay.
I had a Newcastle Cole jersey. Coley moves to United in 95, sold my soul to United. So the reason I bring this up is, for the last, decade, we've been very bad. I've accepted the fact that we're bad, and it's very interesting to see how everybody forgets that, this club is so big that people love, there's a generation of people who respect United, and
mm-hmm.
I think now in the social media era, people don't remember how good this team was, to the point where
I had a similar feeling to you when I was watching the Beckham documentary.
Yes,
where there are two or three bits watching the game, watching highlights of the treble season, the Beckham documentary, and I could feel the goosebumps going. And I'm going, my God, we used to be brilliant in that accent, the old man accent. Oh, we used to be back in the day. One day, and that's I'm saying the sun will rise on us again.
Yeah,
and one thing this season that I heard again and again from fans is, I can't do this anymore. I heard a lot of fans, I can't do this anymore, or I'm tapping out, or this doesn't get better, or how does this get better? And there was a very weird feeling in November and December where, I'll be brutally honest about this, I think that November-December form was so bad that if it wasn't for the Ineos takeover process, the manager job might have been under greater scrutiny. And I think Ten Hag might have, one thing keeping Ten Hag in place at that point in time might have been the fact that, well, we're not sure who the person is that's going to remove him, if they want to remove him. And I remember that phase going, one United fan came up to me after a defeat going, no one manager fixes this. And I think that realization of, they had tried Moyes, they had tried Van Gaal, they had tried Mourinho, they had tried Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they had tried Ten Hag, they had tried a number of different managers with a number of different strengths, and none of them could have sustained success over more than a 2-year period. And it was this thing of, actually, it's not the milk that's off that's the problem, it's the fridge that's broken that keeps causing the situation. And I think we, and I'm going to use we on this podcast because we're all buddies here. I think Manchester United fans, there was a real sense in that November-December period that you need deep change and a deep clean in order for anything to get fixed, even between then and the end of the season. So yeah, that Christmas period was bad. And I also remember in November, December, there were a lot of people looking at Andre Onana sideways.
Yeah, and November started terribly. You lost 3-0 to Newcastle in the EFL Cup, the League Cup. Well, I'm older, so I call it the Carling Cup. But yeah, like yeah, that was a very, very bad November. I mean, that's the Copenhagen. That was literally a week after Newcastle. We lost to Copenhagen.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it was just what even happened to the league in November? Yeah, we we were undefeated in the league. What a Jekyll and Hyde team. Beat Fulham 1-0. I remember the Fernandez goal. Beat Luton 1-0 because of Lindelof. Beat Everton 3-0. Garnacho scored that one goal. Rashford scored a pen, and Martial scored his goal, his last goal for United. And we were so bad, and I think that was a microcosm of the season. It's just it wasn't sometimes, Gattuso when he said sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. It was like very shit, sometimes good. And it was just very interesting because
in the same game.
Yes.
And this was really annoying in that I've watched good United seasons, I've watched bad United seasons, and I've watched mediocre Man United seasons. But there was always a game where from minute 1 to minute 90 you went, that was good. And there were very, very few games this season where from minute 1 to minute 90 I was sat going, this is fun, I'm enjoying this. Oh look, we've won at full time. That was an enjoyable 90 minutes. There was, oh my God, there was so much bad football this season. So many just erratic moments. There was genuinely a point watching Manchester United this season where a 2-0 lead wasn't enough.
I mean, take a look at the FA Cup. I mean, I remember when we beat Coventry, I wasn't shocked that Coventry came back. I was just like, well, I expect it, And we'll get into the FA Cup. We will get into that. But there's been times where, for me, and I can't blame Erik ten Hag. I think that he's trying, and you know this better than I do because you're on ground, obviously. But I feel like everybody wants the club to do better, but it's like there's like a curse on the club. Us being West African, like someone say it's not juju they're doing to the club, but it's just like, I don't understand it.
It is my job to understand this.
Yes.
It's my job to understand it, and I spend somewhere between 40 to 60 hours a week trying to understand things. And I watch these games more than once. I go out and ask the questions to people much more intelligent than I am. I spend hours and hours and hours typing up things and screen grabbing things and clipping things up and looking at footage in normal speed and slow motion and paying attention to people's foot orientation and where they're looking at to try and understand the big tactical on the field questions for Manchester United. And then there's like another layer of Manchester United of the strategic and the business and the logistics of it. And there are so many times where my mum says you should never say no man could be that stupid. Because the moment you say it, you should then close your eyes and go, well, actually, let's try and visualize a man being that foolish. And then you might actually find out that situation. And there were so many times looking at Manchester United where I go, well, you can't possibly think that's the best thing to do. And then you look at Manchester United and you look and you look and you look and you look and you look, and then you've got to sort of take the scales off your eyes and go, well, clearly someone involved in this footballing setup thought that was the best thing to do at that particular moment. And now you have to deal with the repercussions.
Yeah.
And it can be infuriating. It can be infuriating watching this team do things on and off the football field. Yes. And there are so many times, to go back to your point of you were almost an adult Newcastle fan, but you made the switch. I think there were quite a few United fans that watched United this season and had the thought of, wait, why did I decide to support this football team? Because Manchester United was so bad it forced existential pondering.
Yeah. I mean, to go back to that point, right? I obviously we're early 90s kids, right? We grew up in the era where United were the most dominant team, not just in England, but throughout the world. And I've seen a lot of United fans get into United post, Ferguson retiring. And I always ask myself, I was like, what on earth made you make that decision? I was like, people like us, we have nowhere to go. Like we're in this for life. Like my dad, and like this is notorious. Everyone knows my dad's a Liverpool fan. And my dad has messaged me so many different times just talking rubbish. My dad was like, "Oh, Tosin, do you want to become a Liverpool fan? Or Tosin, if United gets relegated, would you support United?" I was like, United go to non-league football, and I still say we're the first team in England to win the treble. I said, because my loyalty with this team is never gonna like wane. I was like, it's like, in as much as frustrating as the season as it was, in as much frustrating as this team has been for the last decade, I'm always gonna love United. Unfortunately for us, like, I have a bloody 92 Cantona jersey right here.
That unfortunately, the unfortunately, the regrettably, the much to my own chagrin and against the advice of many of my loved ones, I will continue to love this football team, and this is for all sports teams. And I've spoken to high-level executives at Manchester United who have spoken about. I mean, if you do economics at school, they talk about stickiness of consumers. So, there's a brand of bin liner I discovered a couple of years ago, and that's my bin liner now. Right, I'm not moving from that bin liner, and unless there's another bin liner that is better than that on sale, I am not moving from my bin liner. I've got my favorite bin liner, I've got my favorite kitchen roll, and I've got that, and that's it. Whereas United are sticky in a way that other consumer products, and it feels weird to describe a football team as a consumer product, aren't. And the best way it got explained to me was by this executive at United saying, he said, "Carl, you have brown eyes, and your brown eyes and your surname are the only things you are more likely to pass on to your children than your football team." And this is for all clubs, right? There are so many people that go, "I support this football team because my father supports this football team." Like, a lot of football support is hereditary, which then makes me want to, when United do something really aggravating, and I mean this, makes me want to turn to United and go, "You know that I can't leave. Why are you disrespecting me continually by doing this silly thing?" And the silly thing could be making a signing I don't necessarily approve of, or releasing another ridiculously expensive premium edition kit when I just want you to win a football game, or failing to close out a 2-0 lead in a game, or etc., etc., etc. And that, so many times I've come in just going, why? Although I will say, when you talk about the November run, Mainu coming back in November against Goodison, that was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Kobe Mainu is arguably one of the greatest Ghanaians to ever live, outside of you and Kwame Nkrumah. He's up there.
Yeah, he's up there. He's up there already.
I love this kid more than life sometimes itself, because he's such a refreshing piece of, like, you know. And Kobe he was a saving grace of this season. I think that, not even I think, I know this, right? As United fans, we shamelessly love our academy because that's what we grew up on, like the Giggsies, the Beckhams, the Scholes, the Nevilles, and the Butts. Like, this is what O'Shea, Darren Fletcher. Like, these are the players that like are the cornerstones. Wes Brown, excuse me. Massive love to Wes Brown, by the way. I think that's one of the most like underrated. There's a very lot of underrated
Wes Brown's
players.
Champions League run, up to and including that Moscow final, I'll talk about that one in a barbershop. Like,
Yes.
Wes Brown was integral to that Champions League victory in ways that respect Wes Brown.
Yes. And like, even Gaz, like, I generally think Gary Neville was one of the most underrated players to ever play football. I remember, and I've posted this clip over and over again, against Juventus in like 2002 or 2000. Yeah, when he tried to chip before, and I was like, these are sort of the cornerstones of our club, is the academy, right? And this is why United, arguably outside of La Fabrica, probably have the most youth products in football, because that's the job of the academy, is to bring these players out.
And this is the big thing. It's not. So obviously the big thing United talk about is 250 academy graduates have played for Manchester United's first team. That's a run that stretches 4,000 games. There's been more than 4,000 games where there has been at least one academy graduate in the first team on a match day, and is a record Manchester United are deeply proud of. And there is basically no other team in England that comes close. Nottingham Forest kind of comes close, but you've got to fudge numbers. But even then, it's a gap of more than 500 games. So that's just people from Carrington getting into the first team. Carrington, the academy, because the academy also used to be at the Cliff and been other places, getting into the Manchester United first team. And then you look at the Manchester United Academy tree. So players that were going through United's academy and then ended up going, actually, I'm not going to be a first team United player. Let me go and play for a team in the Championship or in League One or League Two, or let me go and play in Italy. And that number is even bigger. Carrington is one of the most successful football factories. And let's be real, an academy of football is basically a factory that produces football players. It's one of the most successful football academies, factories in the world, operating on a scale and success rate that is frankly terrifying. And Mainoo's next, right? Mainoo is the next big thing in a football club that prides itself on nurturing and developing the next big thing. And the great thing about Mainoo is there is so much hype and conversation and questions about him already. And then you talk to Mainoo about all this stuff, and he's just like, yeah, he's 19. And I guarantee you, if you talk to him for more than 5 minutes, you'll have a moment where you go, are you sure? Are you really 19? I was never this calm at 19. How are you this calm?
I'll give you a funny story about Kobe Mainoo. I went out the other day, somewhere. I went to some networking event, and somebody asked me and said, "Oh, do you watch Love Island?" I said, "Do I?" I said, "I have a funny story for you that relates to football." They're like, I'm with my friend, and he goes, "How do you have a football story for everything?" I said, "You just wait for this story." So I told this person, I was just like, because she was a girl, and she was just like, she was shocked that I watched Love Island. I was like, no, I like Love Island's good nonsense. Like, I love watching Love Island, put on the TV, you doing stuff. I said, do you remember that season with Jordan? Do you go see light skinned Jordan? I said, so his youngest brother is one of the best players that come out of our academy in a long time. She goes, wait. So, and she's trying to make sense of it. You can see her brain compute. And I was like, yeah, Jordan's younger brother is a Man United player. And my friend looked at me and said, wait, what? I was like, yeah. I was like, that's life, you know? So Garnacho, Kobe have made me so proud this season, the pair of them. Even though even Garnacho's played a ridiculous amount of minutes this season, I'm very proud of the kid. Like, he's done very well. So, you know.
There are some very good pieces there. And December was dark.
Yes.
I remember feeling... So I went down to London to do the West Ham game. And then Boxing Day, United were 2-0 down against Aston Villa. And that was a Garnacho game. That's Garnacho just dragging Manchester United, kicking and screaming up the field at Old Trafford, going, just give me the ball. Give me the ball and I'll get you 5 yards. Give me the ball and I'll get you 5 yards. And he just sheer bloody mindedness. And then right at the end, Højlund gets his first Premier League goal. Now, it's been hard for Højlund in that it's very rare that someone in their debut season for a new club scores 5 goals in the Champions League group stages and yet becomes meme-worthy for not scoring.
Yes.
And yet, when he gets that winner against Aston Villa, I was in a hotel bar when he scored, and I screamed at the top of my lungs and punched the air like, yes! And I sort of ran to the bar, got a drink. The barman's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm really sorry. Sometimes your football team wins and you transcend time and space, and it takes you maybe 5 minutes before you realize how much you needed that.
Yes. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example to like back your point. Liverpool against United in the FA Cup when Ahmad scores the winner. I'm in Queens doing work with La Liga, working with Patrick Kluivert, doing some stuff there.
Of course.
And I'm watching the game on my phone. They don't have it on the TV, but I'm watching the game on my phone because this is the day. I think it's Madrid playing against Barcelona. I think that's the game. And I'm sitting there on my phone. Ahmad scores the winner. If it wasn't for the fact that I was very aware, I would have broken my phone that day. I lost my mind and screamed at the top of my lungs in front of like hundreds of people. They looked at me like, what is wrong with you?
I do remember going to that hotel bartender going, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize how much I needed my football team to win today. I know I'm not supposed to do this, right? At the very least, I'm a journalist. I'm not supposed to do this anymore. I'm supposed to be calm and
stoic.
And I'm supposed to be stoic and whatnot. And I've had several therapists, and they've all told me it's very, they've all told me about the dangers of investing too much of your, don't outsource so much of your emotional well-being to other people. At a certain level, you got to be responsible for your own happiness, and it's kind of unwise to put so much of your happiness into the hands of 11, 18, 24 football players who don't actually know you on personal terms. Is one thing one of my therapists once told me, like, are you sure you should do that? Like, if you have a really good weekend but your football team loses, you have a bad weekend? That's not a healthy way to think. And I know that. And I try very, very hard to not have that anymore. But every now and again, there is one win that your football team does, and you're just like, this is fine. I can deal with everything else for the next 24 hours. And very, very similar. I had a similar experience to you in the Liverpool quarterfinal. So I was in the Netherlands that weekend, and I watched the first half at my in-laws' house, and I had to get in the car to drive back to Amsterdam airport. So I'm watching this game on my phone. Liverpool begin to turn the screw, and I'm getting it got end of 90 minutes. I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, Harvey had it, got it, fine. It's done. And then Anthony scored on his right foot, and I just went, oh, right-footed, Anthony, interesting. And then Rashford missed the opportunity, and you could see him in slow motion beating the ground. And you're like, okay, that was the chance. Then, all right, we'll go to penalties and we'll see what happens. And when Ahmad scored, bear in mind, I'm in the backseat of a car, watching the game on my phone, and I have to behave because my in-laws are in front of me and my girlfriend is next to me. I'm just like, it takes what, an hour and a half to go through airport security? I can't hear anything. I am like a dog, just running around the place. The draw gives me Coventry. I'm just shaking the next person next to me, like, we've got Coventry in a draw. And I was like, this. I know you shouldn't be this happy about anything. That's unwise. You got to keep on an even keel. But again, United have made me ask many existential questions. But when the good things did happen for United this season, oh my God, it felt so sweet.
It was the highest of highs, and we had the lowest of lows. And it's been a very weird season, such an up and down season. But I think that the FA Cup, that win was just, I don't know how we played so well for 90 minutes. Like, we played so well, and it was baffling to me. I was like, where have you been the whole entire season? So, but again,
let's skip Christmas to this FA Cup final victory. I can sum up 6 months of football to you very, very quickly. So you had that little run in January, February. Mm-hmm. You're going, okay. And Ten Hag said this. I remember after United lost against Nottingham Forest after the Aston Villa game, and it was garbage. Just garbage. And Ten Hag took off Mainu partway through the game, and there's just a huge open space in midfield, and Forest got the win. And I do remember before kickoff, Morgan Gibbs-White is in a circle talking to Nottingham Forest players, and he goes, these lot don't want to be here. And the camera cuts to Christian Eriksen looking a little cold, I will say. He didn't enjoy the Nottingham weather, which neither did I. I got really bad flu after that game too. And at the end of that game, he was asked about why did he take off Mainu, and he said, well, Mainu's played 90 minutes against West Ham. I got to manage his minutes because he's quite young, and we don't have too many players right now. But he also said, when Casemiro and Martinez come back, then you'll see the real Man United. And I remember being impressed with Man United. That doesn't fill me with confidence, but okay. And then Casemiro and Martinez did come back, and United were way better in that January-February spell. Højlund had a little run getting some goals, and it was one of those, well, I'm an idiot. Clearly, I mean, that's why you're a football manager, because you have the faith in what you're going to do. And then Martinez gets injured again. Yep. Against West Ham. And then when Koufal falls on his leg. I remember when Koufal fell, I swore in Twee, which there's a fantastic... one of my favourite Nick Cage films is Lord of War, and there's a line in there that says, you always save your mother tongue in moments of absolute agony or absolute ecstasy. And I pretty much only swear in Twee when I am beyond angry. And I swore in Twee, and I said, Martinez, rise. I said, Martinez, please stand up. I said, please, I can't do this. I mean, you have to. I said, you have to stand up. I cannot have you being injured again. I cannot. And then he didn't. MCL sprain. He came back for a little bit, but then he had another injury, and he was out for the majority of the season. And this is one big story about United that Ten Hag repeatedly claimed towards in 2024, which is basically it's hard to do much of anything because there's so many injuries. He said it was very, very hard to establish the playing rhythms and establish the routines at United because we've dealt with so many injuries. He brought up the many different centre-back pairings that he had to play throughout the season. I think the most common centre-back pairing by the end of the season was Johnny Evans and Harry Maguire, which, I mean, that was Leicester City's starting partnership in 2019.
Yeah,
that's not the starting partnership for a team that wants to finish in the Champions League in 2024. So that was a big thing. And then there's just a period in, I would say, from late February onwards where Manchester United just concede shots for fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad. I mean, again, you said Johnny Evans, back to the academy.
This is it.
And
part of me wants to say sorry to Johnny Evans for this season in that Johnny Evans turns up. He's doing some pre-season training, short-term contract, pre-season training with Manchester United. We've had it confirmed now that he was being paid minimum wage for a little bit. And Johnny Evans the short-term contract was come here, do some pre-season training. You can get some fitness here. And then when and if a championship level club needs a player, you can go. And then right near the end of the transfer window, they go, Johnny, do you want to stay? Johnny goes, yeah, all right, go on. I'll give us a year. And very much I thought the idea was having a fifth, sixth choice centre back was for him to just be a guy to explain to the younger academy players what it's like to be a Manchester United player. And yet he's played, frankly, a preposterous amount of minutes. And I mean, Johnny Evans is Johnny Evans. He's going to give you what Johnny Evans can give you now. And very often that was good, but also sometimes you went, yeah, you're not quick. And but my God, I was never disappointed in having Johnny Evans in that starting lineup. I did always go, Johnny Evans, I'm sorry that we're asking so much from you today.
Yes, but the good thing is Johnny Evans ended his season completing the lot. He's won everything in Man United.
Yep.
And they had to win the FA Cup to do that. So very, very happy for Johnny. I mean, there's certain players and certain things. I think the thing about United is such a romantic club. It's like, when I saw that picture with Heaton and Rashford and Kobe and all the academy kids after the FA Cup final, I was just like, this rubber season was kind of worth it. I was like, there it is. I was like, there's the kicker.
I got a little carried away at the end of the FA Cup game, and yeah, that period where United were conceding 12, 15 shots per game, and there was no central midfield, and Casemiro was looking more and more tired because he just had so much space to cover, and you could feel Casemiro go like, is anyone going to come and help me? I can't cover that much space. Even when I was 26, I couldn't cover that much space, and now I'm 31. No. Is this really the best use of my time? Yes. And the Chelsea game. So they played Brentford. They were bad against Brentford. They go 1-0 up, and you go, oh, we're going to smash and grab it, and then Brentford get a late equaliser. Quite a few United fans saying that was the low point of the season.
Yeah, when Mount scored, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. When Mount gets the goal, I'm like, oh, we smashed and grabbed. And then Ivan Toney gets the assist to make it 1-1. There was a moment where one United fan went, that's the worst United have played all season. And I said, it's not even top 3. And a United fan went, what was worse? And I reeled off 5 games off the top of my head. And as I was doing the 4th one, I went, this is a horrendous season. Why? It is not healthy to be this bad. Now, the Chelsea game, I remember halftime meeting a friend at halftime who was a Chelsea fan, and we just laughed at how bad both teams were. And that was a point where United were above Chelsea, and it was this thing of United need to win this game if they are going to get into that top 5, and they lose to Chelsea, and they conceded this just slump where you went, oh, it's not top 5, it's going to be Europa League. Oh, it's not Europa League, it might be Conference League. Oh, it's really bottoming out, and it's no Europe entire.
Yeah.
And then right at the end against Newcastle. Do you want to talk about the Crystal Palace game before I get into Newcastle?
I do, but first of all, I want to talk about the Liverpool game where Maino scored. I want to give a big,
absolutely.
I want to give a big shout out to Adam Crafton. I watched that game with Adam. Wonderful gentleman, by the way. Love watching the game with him. We lost our minds, me and him, and the whole entire bar. I watched it at a United bar in the middle of Manhattan, and we all lost our minds when Kobe scored. For us, we didn't even care if we won or lost. That was the win for us. Didn't really care.
So I interviewed Mainu before the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
So it was him in front of 6 or 7 journalists for 20 minutes. And I asked him, I said, goal against Wolves, goal against Liverpool. How did you do those? And he said, goal against Wolves. First thing he thought was the nutmeg is on. He goes, once the nutmeg was on, the nutmeg was on, and then the space opened up, and then he had a shot. Boom. And he said, against Liverpool, he said he knew the first touch was good. And he said, once he got the first touch, he knew the shot was on. And then I went, how did you know the shot was on? Your back was towards the goal. And he just replied, goal doesn't move.
Love the kid. Absolutely love the
That's
kid.
a 19-year-old. The goal doesn't move is something that's been stuck in my head ever since. That Liverpool game was my birthday. And the United Stadium announcer at halftime wished me a happy birthday. And I was like, thanks. It'd be good if United could just avoid defeat. But Mainu and Fernandes scored. Both of those goals are goal of the season contenders.
Yeah. But then Garnacho obviously has probably the pushcast goal, probably on the pushcast because that was
one of the. Eventually, they're going to make a DVD of United's goals from the 23-24 season, and I will show it to a very, very young relative, and I go, "Wow, where did United finish that season? 8th. Oh, yeah. How many? What was their goal difference? -1. Huh?"
So I was on the plane. You remember when we played against City and we lost and Rashford scored that goal? I was on the plane. I was going somewhere. And I get off the plane and finally get internet. So I went to go look it up. I almost did a damn backflip in the airport. Because I was like, what the hell? I was like, where did that come from?
This is one of the joys of Man United is Michael Cox in 2019 wrote a piece about Maradona's goal against England in the World Cup, outlining why he believed it was the greatest goal ever scored. And he said, I'm paraphrasing it, but he said there are largely 3 types of great goal. He said there is the team move, there is the dribble, and there is the outrageous hit. And Maradona's goal is fantastic because it combines a great dribble with a great hit, and it also makes a team just look completely messy. Now, United, since Sir Alex Ferguson's retirement, haven't been great at team moves. Ten Hag's had a few great team move goals, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had a few great team goals. Van Gaal a little bit. Ten Hag, Van Gaal, and Ole have all had moments where there's been sprinkles of great team goals. They're great dribble goals, a little bit here or there. But in terms of fantastic hits, through the roof. Pogba, fantastic hits. Fernandes, fantastic hits. Mainu, fantastic hits. Garnacho, fantastic hits. Rashford, fantastic. We've got fantastic hits coming out the wazoo. So that's nice. And then I do remember that Chelsea game being so annoyed. So annoyed. And going, it is going to be Europa. And yet, the Crystal Palace game, at halftime, United were losing. And someone around went, yeah, it is what it is. We're really injured right now. We knew it'd be difficult, and we're just going to try and grind it out and see what's possible. I remember getting a text message from a United friend going, are you not going to win another game between now and the end of the season? To which someone else went, are you not going to score a goal between now and the end of the season? Palace ended up dropping 4 on United. Casemiro looked... That was the beginning. That was the beginning of people saying some very, very, very unkind things about Casemiro on national and international television, not just on Twitter. And yet, against Newcastle, Ten Hag did something I didn't think he was capable of doing, which is he changed. He changed from this huge counter-attacking 4-2-3-1 system to a 4-2-2 system. United weren't pressing as aggressively. And Amrabat got some game time as well. He went, oh, that was interesting. Then they did it against Brighton. Got the win. He went, that's interesting. Then there was the conversation, is he going to do it against Manchester City in the FA Cup, which he did to perfection.
Yes.
And United won the FA Cup, and I still
don't know how.
I mean, I I do know how because again, it's my job to understand it. But
Absolutely.
I do remember there was a point in around by the hour mark watching it where I'll put it to you this way: United played some of the best football they have played all season in the FA Cup final. Did you at any point in time go, why couldn't you have done this earlier?
Every time. Like the first half, literally, I was just like, why did we have to wait until the last game of the season to do this? I was like, for me, it's like, I love United. I think that's where like a lot of people think that like, a lot of people don't understand that about me. It's like, I'm very frustrated because I love this team deeply. I think outside of my parents and my family, United is probably the only other thing that like consistently I've loved, right? It's like, and like you were saying, you shouldn't put your love and your faith in something else other than yourself. But outside of my mom and my dad and my siblings, United is the constant thing that I've loved, like, 30 plus years now,
It's
right?
the thing
Like
you love
95.
longest, right? I started being a Manchester United fan after Cantona gets the win in the FA Cup final over Liverpool. So there is.
I got a story for you about that actually, about that game. So my dad's been a Liverpool fan.
Yep.
My mom's pregnant, by the way. So she went out to the shop somewhere in London. I don't know where she went. Probably Deptford, like the African mom that she is.
I love that.
And so me and my brother are laughing at my dad that Cantona scored this winner. I'm about to be 6. My brother's about to be 4. My dad puts me in his right arm, my brother in his left arm, takes us outside, puts us outside the house, locks the door, goes to bed. We're waiting for like 30 minutes. My mom comes home. My mom's like, what are you doing outside? I said, Dad kicked us out because United beat Liverpool. We come upstairs. This man is knocked out sleeping. So
look, I've gone to bed with no dinner when United have lost this season. And I think, so 1996 is when United are my team. The only things I have loved in my life longer than Manchester United are Magnum white chocolate ice cream, blue pens over black pens, and Spider-Man comic books, right? In terms of decisions I made when I was 5 or 6 that I still continue to do at 33, it's 2 or 3 culinary choices. And even then, some of those will fade. There will be a day where where the doctor goes, you can't keep eating Magnum white chocolate ice cream. But there won't be a day where the doctor will say, you can't keep loving Manchester United, and I will agree with the doctor.
No, like you're wrong, and you need to go back to medical school.
Yeah. And this is why here's a fun story. At the end of every season, Manchester United, as a group company, often invite a lot of the journalists to play members of staff of Manchester United. So people on their social media team, people with the security guards and whatnot, and they have a club versus media team, and they do it once a year. And it's it's like one time a year I play 11-a-side, and you play at Old Trafford, and you get your shirt, you get to walk down the tunnel, and they play the music, and you go, oh my god, I'm playing at Old Trafford, and it's amazing. So this game is on Wednesday before the FA Cup final on a Saturday, and I play 50 minutes, and I get a hamstring injury.
Oh god!
And I come off, and I'm really annoyed. I'm like, I can't believe I am another player to get. I'm another person to get a muscular injury playing in a United shirt at Old Trafford. Great, fine. So I go to the doctors, and he's like, "Yep, this is a grade 1 to 2 tear of your hamstring muscle. Your muscle's been ruptured. You're going to get back fit in anywhere between 4 to 6 weeks if you don't do any physio, maybe 3 to 4 if you pay attention." So I go to Wembley. I'm wearing a suit because it's a cup final. Now, I didn't want to wear a suit for the Wembley Cup final because I didn't think United would win. And Andy Mitten said to me, "You wear a suit, Carl. It's a cup final. How many times in your life are you going to get to watch Manchester United play, cover Manchester United playing an FA Cup final? Wear a suit. Come on, take it seriously." I was like, all right, for you, Andy. So I wore a suit. I remember at half-time, United 2-0 up. Andy's doing his TV work. And I saw him in the media room. And I just walked up to him and I said, "I don't know what's going to happen in the next 45 minutes. But for now, while we're happy, I'm going to hug you. Is that all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, go on, mate." So I had a hug because it was just, we're beating City. Oh my God, good things might happen. And then when the full-time whistle blew, I jump up in the air, I punch the air, and I try and do like, yes. I'm like, yes, we did it. Yes, we did it. Yes, my hamstrings.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of when Bailly took Zlatan's crutches.
Yes. So that's me. That was me at Wembley.
Yeah.
And I had the same thing. Got back to my hotel, had a moment, like, couldn't drink because I was doing a podcast at the time. I got a Coca-Cola, and the bartender's gone, "Are you okay?" Because being in a suit at Wembley Stadium, everyone knows what you're doing. But by the evening, I was just some guy in a suit in London. He went, "Are you okay? Have you been at work?" And I just went, "I've just had one of the best Saturdays of my life." I didn't know how much this meant to me. My job is words. My job is words, and my job is Manchester United. And yet, if you ask me to put into words why Manchester United make me happy, or how happy Manchester United make me, I still find it really, really difficult to do so. Anyway,
and I think that's the season right there.
Yeah.
We have questions for you, a lot of questions. So let's get to the questions. First, we're going to start off with some of the questions from the other guys, the Shirtless Plantain Show, the Arsenal guys.
Okay.
We're not going to have them on today. Absolutely not. It's not an Arsenal podcast. This is United one. Dean asks, there are 8 Man United players participating in Euros. Briefly rank them from worst to best in order who have the best tournament.
Oh, wow. This is a great question because the next piece I've got on The Athletic is this article. I've just written an article on this. So 8 players. In terms of players the United player who probably have the least impact at the Euro 2024 is Altay Bayındır, the Turkish goalkeeper. He's most likely going to be third choice. The player after that who will have impact. This is fun because now I've got a real more off the top of my head. So number 7 at Euros. Diogo Dalot, I think, will be 7 in that. No disrespect to him, he's well earned, well deserved player of the year. I think Portugal, he might not necessarily be a starter for Portugal, so that's going to be a really, really tricky one. In terms of to like whip it, in terms of the player who have the player who I think will have the best Euros, Bruno Fernandes. So he won the Sir Matt Busby Award. That's his 3rd award already, which feels really quick for Fernandes. To put this in context, David De Gea has the most of any single United player. He's got 4. Cristiano Ronaldo also has 4. Bruno Fernandes has 3. And he might end up having more in the years to come if he decides to stay. So I think if Portugal's really interesting in that Portugal should make a deep run in that tournament if Roberto Martinez can convince Cristiano Ronaldo to come off the bench rather than start. I don't think he has that, but if he can convince him to do that, then I think Portugal could reach the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and also I think Bruno Fernandes is a outside but not ridiculous shout for player of the tournament if Portugal win the thing, because if Portugal do, a lot of the ball's going to go through him.
I got something funny to tell you about Portugal. As we're speaking right now, they're playing the 3-4-1-2. Antonio Silva, Pepe, Ignacio as their back 3. Dalot, Cancelo as their wing backs.
So Dalot playing.
Bruno, Yao Neves as a pivot. Felix in front of them who scored, with Cristiano and Leao up top. So.
All right. Interesting. To spin it back on your quick question here, Manchester United bought Rasmus Højlund. It's a bit weird that they could have bought Gonçalo Ramos.
Yeah.
You know, of all the strikers that were on the market, Gonçalo Ramos, Kolo Muani, Rasmus Højlund, of that bracket, Højlund had a decent season, but I'm looking at all 3 of those strikers now going, yeah, I'm actually glad United got Højlund other than compared to these ones.
So, again, go back to my previous job. I was very lucky enough, my job was to cover Serie A. So I've watched an enormous amount of Serie A, more than, I think the only person in the world who watched more Serie A than me was James Horncastle. That's not Italian. I think that's the only person in the world who watched more. Like, I'm watching Torino versus Hellas Verona.
Wow.
Not for fun, but because this is my job. And I have to watch all these games. So I watched a lot of Rasmus last season. And what stood out to me the most was, and, we started playing more to his strengths towards the end of the season, but that's a very physical kid who's very rapid. And we start playing more towards his thing. So I'm glad we signed Rasmus. I think that we need someone to offset him this season. I think he played next season, but we'll get into that. So, yeah.
Højlund is my choice for number 2. I think if Denmark are to do anything at this Euros, it's going to be Højlund scoring a lot of goals. I think Højlund's might have a repeat of his Champions League campaign where he scores 3+ goals in the group stages, but also Denmark might not necessarily have a great group stage. That's because Eriksen is my number 6 in that. Eriksen, we know Eriksen's pluses now. We also know his non-pluses now. And if Denmark needs to be great, you also need a lot from Eriksen. I'm not sure Eriksen can give you the level of production that he used to be capable of for understandable reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Then we are going into, Luke Shaw's number 3 in that. England absolutely need Luke Shaw fit. And we're talking right now, I don't think Luke Shaw is going to be starting on June 16th in England's first game against Serbia. I think Gareth Southgate's taken Luke Shaw as I'm wrapping you up in cotton wool and I'm saving you for the final group stage game so you can be fit enough for the knockouts because you are our left back hope. And if Shaw can't do it, England probably won't start at left back. It will be Joe Gomez or another centre back out there, which is a huge ask for Luke Shaw. In that, when Luke Shaw's on his day, I think there's maybe 2 other left backs in the world who are better than him. Now, one, he's getting injured at such a frequency that those days are becoming rarer and rarer and rarer. And 2, there are times where Luke Shaw is fit and in the starting lineup, and it is not his day, and you're going shoulders, Luke, shoulders. So Luke Shaw's number 3 in terms of importance. So I've done 8, 7, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In the middle are 5 is Mainu. I think Mainu will have his moments and will definitely have time to shine, but I don't think Mainu's going to be playing every single game at this Euros because England just have a surplus of talents. And there will be a Euros where Mainu will be one of the main men next to a midfielder who's probably Declan Rice. I'm not sure if this is going to be the Euros, but the great thing about Mainu is he's not afraid of hard work. And I know when Mainu does get that time to play for England at this Euros, he's going to give you everything he's got. Which means number 4 is the one player who I keep forgetting, and that is
Scott
McTominay. Yep.
Another question. This is from Wale. We keep in the back of house, and all he does for us is he does all the grunt work. All the clothing you see comes from Wale. So shout out to him. He says, "What's the most important signing United have to make this summer? What is the nucleus of players United should build around now, and where do you see Rashford in 3 years?"
Okay. Do you know Statman Dave?
Yeah, of course.
Statman Dave, good friend of mine, wonderful YouTube channel, brilliant tactical mind, and he's got a great way of explaining tactics to you. Every now and again, we go out for a coffee in Manchester, and he'll just like open up a laptop and hit play on Y-Scout and says, and go, tell me what you see on a player. I go, this and this and this. He goes, okay, and just closes the laptop. And then I'm like, what was that for? It's like, we'll talk about it later. So, Statman Dave did a video last week where he presented a theory saying Manchester United should not buy. He said, United need to buy a centre-forward backup, but other than that, United need to buy no more players for the front 4. Saying the priorities now is not the front 4, but it's centre-backs, central midfielders, full-back. And since talking to him and watching the video, I am now becoming of the belief, I think, 1, the departure of Rafael Varane means you need a right centre-back. 2, there's going to be no guarantee. We're not totally sure what sort of Martinez is going to come back, so you might need to get left centre-back cover. I think Luke Shaw, the situation with Luke Shaw and Malacia means you need to get a left-back as well. So that's 3 players in your back line that you probably need sorting. You need at least 1 extra player. So centre-back's your number 1 priority. I also think the number 2 priority is defensive midfielder because Casemiro doesn't look like he's going to be the Casemiro that we saw 2 seasons ago or the Casemiro we saw at Real Madrid. So those 2, 1 and 2. Who do you build around? You absolutely build around Martinez. You absolutely build around Mainu. You absolutely build around Garnacho. And you build around Rasmus. Where do I see Marcus Rashford in 3 years? That's a really interesting question. Rashford's stock with the fan base in Manchester is the lowest I've seen it since moving up here in 2020. And there are quite a few United fans where you go, what do you think of Rashford? They go, humming and tutting. And I think there's also a degree of Manchester United fans or Marcus Rashford fans who say, I love Marcus Rashford. I still love Marcus Rashford. I'm not sure if this club is the best place for him to be. Rashford himself, and I'm talking to you full disclosure, I have written children's books with Marcus Rashford. Rashford himself, I would love him to stay at Manchester United and continue to be a fantastic success at Manchester United. He's come off social media. He's said he was going off social media. He wants to focus on his football and get his head right. And the last time he did that, he went off and scored 30 goals the next season. So, yeah, in terms of what's going to happen next season, I'm predicting big things from Marcus, if only because next season Manchester United will have a left back.
Yeah, and I'm on the camp of I'm never not going to believe Marcus Rashford. I'm sorry. I see a young kid that came through the academy who's black, and that's just my guy. I'm going to live and die by Marcus Rashford. It just is what it is.
That guy, so you've been watching Manchester United all through your life. You've watched the original Brazilian Ronaldo score a hat-trick at Old Trafford. You've watched Wayne Rooney. You've watched Cristiano Ronaldo. You break into the first team as a teenager. You're playing next to Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney's giving you advice about what to do. You then watch a team go through a cycle and you manage to get some trophies in there. And then as things get really, really hard, you step up again and again and again and again and again. You play through all sorts of injuries and people go, you're not giving your all team. And you still find ways to try and affect things the way you can. Then lockdown happens. And then while you're injured to the point where you find it hard to sit down properly, you go off and do incredible charitable work. And then you come back and then you kick on again, eventually. And Rashford's another one. He's not afraid of hard work. So I believe in Rashford always. And I think he will be a difference maker at Manchester United in the years to come. And I think one of the big things is whenever you talk to any of these United players, who's one of the best players in training, they all look like Rashford. And I've seen players in lower. I don't like using bottom half of this situation. I've talked to players who play for teams that do not compete in Europe in the Premier League, and they go name a player in the Premier League who you think doesn't get spoken about enough, or name a player who thinks ridiculous, and they go, Rashford is absurd. Nathan Redmond once said the things Rashford can do with the football is ridiculous. So we know what Rashford is really, really good at. We also know the conditions he needs around him to be at his best. And one of them is, can you get a left back who can overlap? And you didn't have that for an entire season, and then he didn't have a great season by all accounts. So let's see. United with a good left back and Marcus Rashford on the left wing. I would like that, and I'd like to see that. Also, if Rashford is on the bench for some games and Garnacho is that person on the left wing, I'd like to see that too. The flavors, bring them to me.
Yeah. My friend told me asked the co-host, he couldn't be here today. He asked 3 questions. I'm gonna pick one. He says, an academy kid you'll bring back, and this is for me too, and you can't see Angel Gomez.
Danny Welbeck.
I have to think about. I have to generally think about it. I did have a question. I did have an answer. I would say Pogba or Welbeck, one of the two. I love Paul. I'm sorry. I'm always gonna love Paul.
I had a moment earlier today where I was looking at all the Euro squads and I was looking at the France squads. Like, that's amazing. And then my brain just went, imagine if Pogba was playing.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna look for the questions that we asked on Twitter. So
the stickiest of the icky.
Yeah, let's get to that. Someone said life advice. May not Harry 9 says may not have hurt me so bad lately, but I keep coming back. What do I do? Listen to this podcast.
Listen to this podcast. My thing is, there's multiple times this season and last season where when the result is getting bad, I just go log off, man. You can watch United, but one big thing I ask everyone now is, don't let your football team ruin your weekend. I'm not saying switch off. I'm not saying whatever, but if you can get to a point in your life where your team losing on the weekend only affects 2 hours after defeat and maybe the highlight show you watch at the end of the day, great. Once they lose, boom, on to the next thing. One thing you do quite often on Twitter is you say the players are paid don't worry about it. You just have to keep it pushing. And one thing, again, you talk to these Premier League football players, when they have a big loss, one thing they often say is, one of the good things about the Premier League is, yeah, we've lost, but there's a game right around the corner, so we're going to put things right then. And that's one thing I also play my mind. When I have that, I come back from Old Trafford, I'm on the trail, I'm like, this is disgraceful, I hate everything. I go, actually, there's next week.
We go again. We always go again. Eric eFried97 said he needs to know how to pull off a turtleneck. I'm leaving that for you. That's a Carl question.
Right. One, hard to pull off a turtleneck. One big thing for a lot of lads: do your clothes fit? I got to ask you, and I say this with love. Now, there was a point in my life where I wore a medium t-shirt, and then I found a very good taco place, and one of my friends said, "Why do you keep wearing t-shirts that are too small for you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And they just picked up my shoulder and said, "You see this hem here on the shoulder? That's meant to sit on your shoulder. You're wearing t-shirts that are too small for you." So one big advice: you want to dress well, make sure you're wearing clothes that fit. If you don't know if clothes fit, go to the place in your high street that sells suits and say, "Oh, I'm interested in buying a suit or getting measured for a suit," and have the guy measure you. And then when he says, "These are your measurements," write those down and then go, "Oh, cool. I'm going to go shop at some other stores. I'll see you later." And just walk out. I've got a card in my wallet at all times, and it just has all of my sizes written down: my shoe size, my t-shirt size, my leg size, my neck size, if I need a tie, and my hat size. So that means I never ever buy anything that doesn't fit. So that's one thing. Then you got to figure out what your colors are, and your colors are your colors, personal preference, whatnot. I don't like wearing brown. I don't like wearing black t-shirts too often. Figure out your sizes. Figure out what colors work for you. Then, one thing you want to get away with dressing really well: wear the colors of the France flag. If you can combine navy blue, white, and red into your fit in some combination, someone will compliment you.
There you go.
So there you go. And if you want to wear a turtleneck, black turtleneck, and like a black turtleneck and red trousers work well. Don't wear black and brown at the same time. Black and brown makes you frown.
I don't agree with that. I do whatever I want, but again,
sure.
And this leads into our next question from Charles Boehm. He says, "Please just make sure to spend some quality time on #menswear." Okay. These pictures of me pre-2018 does not exist. I did a lot of soul searching to get to where I'm at my style-wise, right? All I'm saying is that you remember when we used to watch Jackass and shows like that that say, "Do not attempt this at home. This is done by professionals." That's how I feel with like my menswear advice. It's just like, I do things that you shouldn't do because I can do it. I am the most Nigerian Congolese.
Now you can do that because you're a very handsome man. You get away with a lot of things. You're a very handsome man. You've got a very fashionable frame. You're tall, you're slim, you boom, and you throw together color in a way that even if it doesn't work, that's you.
Yeah.
And I think that's like intermediate plus level of dressing. Whereas if you're just starting from your basics, make sure you wear clothes that fit. Make sure you figure out what colors work for you, and make sure you have just some like go-tos. So, do you have a pair of navy trousers or jeans? Get 2 of those. Do you have a good pair of black sneakers? Get 1 of those. Get a good pair of white sneakers. Then you go off. Get like 3 very good white t-shirts. Then get 3 very good t-shirts that are in the color that you think looks good on you. Then go off and get yourself a navy blue blazer. Everyone needs a navy blue blazer. Then go out and get, and then you can start playing around with it. So Sam years and years ago told me that it's very, very hard to be sad when you're wearing yellow socks. And he's right. I've got really, really long legs. And if it's really hard for me to buy trousers on the high street that fit me. And when I was having this chat with Sam just went, "Why don't you just wear more colorful socks?" So that way, instead of people go, "Your trousers don't fit," they go, "Oh, nice socks, man."
Yeah, there you go. So basically,
negatives into positives your dress all the time, because as the nice man on Twitter says, dress sense is also an expression of your personality and art.
Also, follow the menswear guy. And don't be on his
the
bad
menswear
side.
guy's cool.
Yeah.
The menswear guy's cool, but be on level. Don't try and slam dunk on him.
Yeah. We're gonna speed through some of these questions. Courtney has a special place in my heart. She said,
Yep.
when would they stop lying about Luke Shaw's height? Courtney, he's 6'1".
Okay. Very, very quickly on this one. So this happens in lockdown. I'm writing a piece on all of Man United's left backs, and I'm doing a bit on Brandon Williams. I'm doing a bit on Alex Telles, and I do a bit on Luke Shaw. And I say Luke Shaw has been at the club for longer than you think, and he's also deceptively tall. And I'm on the Premier League bit, and he says he's 6'1", and I go, what? And then I messaged the Premier League person, and I went, it says Luke Shaw here is 6'1". Where did you get that from? Because he doesn't look 6'1". And the Premier League person went, oh, we get that from the club. That is weird. Luke Shaw doesn't seem 6'1" to me. So then I go to, this is lockdown, by the way. None of us is going outside. I've got like special dispensation to go to football games. I'm wearing a face mask at all times and whatnot. And I go to Manchester United, I go, Luke Shaw's listed as 6'1". How? To which the person at Manchester United went, well, that's his height. We measured him and he told us that's what his height is. And I went, okay. And this is lockdown. So I'm going, I have to wait months before I get to see Luke Shaw up close and then see if is he eye-line with me. I'm chasing I go to Opta with this. I go to more than 2 data companies with this going, is this Luke Shaw's height? Because it doesn't feel right. Someone tells me if you look in FIFA Ultimate Team, Luke Shaw is listed closer to 5'9" or 5'10" in FIFA. So there's a discrepancy as well. I went, has Luke Shaw just told someone at United who then told the Premier League that he's 6'1"? This is going on for ages and ages and ages and ages. And then last season, around about April, I was at Carrington and I shook hands with Luke Shaw and I got my answer as to whether or not Luke Shaw is 6'1". He is not 6'1", my friends.
He's not. You went in that way. How? Wait.
But hey,
hold on.
Ivan Toney is more than 5'11".
Wait, you said he's not 6'1"?
He's not 6'1". Luke Shaw is not 6'1". Okay. But I'm not going to tell you how tall he is. I'm not going to tell you how short tall he is. I'm not going to mess with another man's back.
Fair enough. There's a lot of questions, guys. I'm sorry, we're not going to get to all of them. A lot of them asking us about Ineos and like different things like that. Long story short, Carl and I are going to tell you this about Ineos. Just trust the process. That's the only thing I can tell you.
So what I will tell you about Ineos is pay attention to how Ineos run other things. And historically speaking, Ineos as a company, when they go in and they buy something, they trim the workforce down and make it as lean as possible. Then they have your sort of year and whatnot after that. And then they try and make things profitable, either with a view of selling it or with a view of keeping it and running at a very, very high level. And I think that's what you're seeing this summer. This summer, there will probably be quite a high level of redundancies at Manchester United in terms of decision making. At this point in time, I'm talking to you outside looking in, it seems like Sir Jim Ratcliffe is taking it very, very seriously that he is the one carrying out instructions. I also think that it's going to take, I don't think this is Ineos' first summer in charge. I think that will be next summer when Omar Barada is fully in place, where Dan Ashworth maybe will fully be in place. When you finally see that network of director of football, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada at the top, and other individuals. Because at the moment, you've got a little bit of flux. One thing we like to do at the Athletic is draw a family tree and say, this person does this person does this, this person does this. And the thing historically, when you do it with United, is the moment you draw the family tree for United, someone either leaves or the order gets messed up. So give the United setup some time. You know, Darren Fletcher used to be the technical director. Now Jason Wilcox took that role. So Darren Fletcher has a role reporting to Jason, but we still don't quite know what that role is yet. And this is the murky fog of war that is Ineos. So whatever's gonna happen at United under Ineos is going to take time, and unfortunately, people are losing their jobs right now, which is always a shame.
Yeah. My boy Carson, he's gonna kill me if I didn't ask you this. Just quickly run through this. He said, "What's the long-term outlook for Hannibal?" That's what he wants to know.
I don't think Hannibal's going to be a first-team player for Manchester United. I do think he is good enough to play in one of Europe's top 5 leagues. Although whatever happened between him and Quique Flores at Sevilla, spicy one, that one.
Yeah.
He's a player who's got too much dog.
Way too much. Last question from Just Cutter. Sorry, you guys, we couldn't get to all your questions. Someone asked, and the only reason I asked is because Skepta had a tweet about it. And when you hear about it, you know exactly what Skepta tweet I'm talking about. Do you drink water with bubbles?
Okay. Here's an embarrassing confession I'm going to make. There was a 8-month spell in my life where I did drink water with bubbles because my boss at a company who sat across from me drank water with bubbles, and that was my sort of, do you want some sparkling water, mate? Hi, boss. How you doing? Can I get that promotion? And then he left, and I got fired unceremoniously. So I've not drank water with bubbles since. I do. Before we sign off, the Skepta adage: leave the house only when necessary. Complete the mission and then get back in the house. I've been following that since 2020, so I think everyone else should do that too.
But we're talking about the other Skepta one, you know, the bubbly one.
Yeah,
the
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure that is. Yeah.
You're trying to pretend I'm scared. I know what you're trying to do.
Carl, I want to thank you so much for your time. This definitely went on longer, but I'm glad we got to speak.
Yes.
Appreciate you. Like we said, United, we can't stop loving you. It just is what it is.
Let's try and I will try my best to come back and we can do a United preview before the season starts. I'll try, but no guarantees because it's United. So,
mate, the fact you came along today is just
if
grateful.
We miss the start of the season, let's
much.
try and do it before the end of the summer transfer window because there'll be some new shiny toys for us to discuss. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Carl Anka. For those who don't know him, he is journalist for Man United, working with The Athletic, all around great guy, menswear legend as well. Ghanaian, tall Ghanaian, which is very rare. But yes,
dangerous. And the Ghanaian man over 6 foot, not to be trusted.
No, and I learned that because Stephen Appiah is one of my favorite players of all time. So it's neither here nor there. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Anka. Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are out. Everyone take it easy. Peace. Take your shirt off. Take your shirt off.